Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. This isn't just a clever phrase. It's a truth that determines who succeeds and who falls short. You see, everyone has goals. Ask anyone and they'll tell you what they want out of life. Some want wealth, some want health, others want meaningful relationships, freedom, peace, growth. Goals are everywhere. But what separates the people who talk about them from the people who achieve them? That separation is discipline. Discipline is doing what you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has left you. It's the ability to keep promises you made to yourself, not just the ones you made to other people. Because believe me, the promises you make to yourself are the ones that matter most. If you can't trust yourself to follow through, you start to doubt your own word. And when you stop believing in your word, your confidence begins to collapse. You start questioning your value, your potential, your purpose. That's why discipline isn't just about performance. It's about identity. It's the foundation of self-respect. We all make goals with emotion. Maybe you were inspired by a speaker, or moved by a tragedy, or tired of your current situation. That spark is good, it's needed, but it doesn't last. What lasts is what you do after that emotion fades. Discipline steps in when motivation walks out. Think of it this way. Goals are like seeds. Inspiration plants them, but discipline waters them, nurtures them, protects them until they grow. Without discipline, those seeds dry out in the sun of daily distractions. The dreams die, not because they weren't possible, but because someone didn't stay long enough to see them grow. People often wait for the right time. They say, I'll do it when I feel ready, or I need to be more motivated first. That mindset is a trap, because the right time doesn't come. It's created. Motivation is unreliable. It's a burst, not a battery. If you depend on it, you'll live in cycles of highs and lows, starting and stopping, trying and quitting. But discipline doesn't care about moods. It doesn't ask how you feel. It just says, show up, do the work. And that's what winners do. They show up whether they feel like it or not. Let's be clear. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you never slip. It means that when you fall, you get back up fast. It means you never let a bad day become a bad week. You don't negotiate with laziness. You don't reason with weakness. You simply return to the standard you set for yourself. You forgive the failure, but you don't lower the bar. That's discipline. Not harshness, not guilt, but commitment. And here's something powerful discipline compounds. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, waking up on time, completing your reading, eating healthy, sticking to your plan, you're building momentum, and that momentum turns into belief. You start to believe that you are capable of more. And that belief drives new action. It's a loop of growth. One small discipline builds the next. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through, and eventually you look back and realize you've become the kind of person you used to admire. Goals are wonderful, but they are only potential. They live in the mind. Discipline is what pulls them into reality. You want a better life. You don't need more dreams. You need more structure, more follow-through, more decisions backed by effort. Discipline turns intention into experience. And here's a secret. Discipline actually gives you freedom. Most people think it's the opposite. They think discipline is restriction. But what's really restrictive is regret. What's restrictive is not having the energy, not having the options, not having the confidence because you never put in the work. Discipline opens doors. It creates choices. It builds character and capacity. It frees you from being controlled by your impulses. That's real freedom. The ability to do what's right, not just what's easy. So don't wait for discipline to appear. You create it. One action at a time. You train it. You strengthen it like a muscle. Start small, but stay consistent. That's the real power. Not bursts of effort, but steady pressure applied over time. Remember, discipline is not the enemy of your dreams. It is the guardian of them. It's the bridge you must walk, step by step, day by day, if you want to arrive at the life you imagined. So don't just set goals. Build the discipline that will carry you to them. That's where real transformation begins. Force is not aggression, it's consistent self-control. It's not about violence, anger, or pushing others around. No, the real force we're talking about is the quiet, steady power of making yourself do what needs to be done, especially when you don't want to do it. It's learning to govern your actions, not with emotion or impulse, but with intention and clarity. The greatest victories in life are not always visible on the outside. Often, they are internal battles won by those who chose discipline over comfort, structure over chaos, and purpose over mood. When we talk about forcing yourself, we don't mean forcing in a destructive sense. It's not about burnout or punishing yourself. It's about mastering the ability to override your immediate feelings in service of your long-term vision. That is true self-control. It's understanding that your mind and body are not always on your side when it comes to growth. They seek comfort, safety, and familiarity. But growth lives outside of that zone. So you have to train yourself to move forward even when your feelings say otherwise. Self-control means showing up when you don't feel like showing up. It means doing the workout even when your bed is warm. It means studying when distractions are calling your name. It means making the phone call, writing the proposal, finishing the project, staying consistent, not because it feels good, but because it's aligned with your goal. That's real force. It's not loud, but it's strong. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. And here's the truth: anyone can develop it. The ability to force yourself is like a muscle. It gets stronger with use and weaker with neglect. The first time you resist the urge to quit, you may feel discomfort. The second time, resistance grows. But by the 10th time, you start to recognize a new pattern. Your identity starts to shift. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who honors commitments, someone who keeps going when others stop. That's when the internal force becomes part of who you are, not just something you do occasionally. This force is what creates separation. Everyone has a desire. Everyone has dreams. But not everyone is willing to command themselves into consistent action. That's the difference. And it has nothing to do with talent or background or luck. It has everything to do with learning how to control your inner world. When others wait for motivation, you've already acted. When others give in to tiredness or boredom or fear, you've already pushed through. Why? Because you've trained yourself to do it anyway. Imagine how your life would change if you could depend on yourself every single day. Not once in a while, not only when the stars align, but every day. That's what self-control gives you. Predictability in your performance. You become someone who doesn't need permission, who doesn't wait for circumstances to be ideal. You become someone who moves, who builds, who progresses. That's freedom. And it comes through force, not force imposed from the outside, but force directed from within. There's a kind of peace that comes from knowing you're in charge of your own behavior. You're not ruled by habits, laziness, or mood swings. You've built an internal system that carries you forward no matter what's happening around you. And when you do that, the world responds. You start producing results. People notice. Opportunities open up, not because you're lucky, but because you're reliable. You've earned trust. You've earned momentum. And most importantly, you've earned confidence, the kind that only comes from doing what's difficult consistently. It's easy to wish, easy to hope, easy to dream. But results belong to those who are willing to do the hard things, not once, but repeatedly. Not when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. The ability to force yourself to act, to move, to grow, it is the most valuable skill you can develop, because everything else depends on it. You want health. You need consistent self-control. You want financial success. You need consistent self-control. You want mastery in any area. The same answer applies. This force within you is not something you're born with. It's something you choose. And you choose it in the small moments, when you get up on time, when you say no to a distraction, when you push through another hour of work, when you hold your standard even when no one is watching. Those moments build on each other. And slowly, The person who once needed to force themselves to act becomes the person who acts automatically with integrity, focus, and purpose. So don't misunderstand force. It's not rage. It's not shouting. It's not control over others. It is mastery over self. It is the decision to be better than your excuses, stronger than your temptations, and bigger than your limitations. And it's available to you right now. Start small, stay consistent, and build that inner strength day by day. Because once you can make yourself do what's necessary, nothing becomes impossible. Success begins with a decision, but it grows through action. That's where most people get stuck. They decide, they imagine, they dream, they talk about what they want to do, the life they want to live, the habits they want to build. And for a moment, it feels real because deciding feels powerful. It creates energy. It gives hope. But here's the truth. Decisions mean nothing without follow-through. A goal written on paper is just a sentence. Action is what gives it life. Action is the breath in the lungs of a dream. The first step is always a decision. You decide you want change. You decide you've had enough. You decide it's time. That's important. But don't mistake the first step for the journey. It's not enough to decide once and expect results. Real success requires you to decide every single day. You wake up and decide again. You recommit. You remind yourself why you started. And then you act, not because it's easy, not because you feel like it, but because the goal is worth it. Many people make one strong decision, then wait for everything else to fall into place. They wait for clarity, confidence, or courage. But those things come from movement, not stillness. You don't get courage before you act. You gain courage by acting despite fear. You don't get clarity by thinking endlessly. You find it by doing. That's why success grows through action. Each time you take a step forward, even a small one, you gather experience, you learn, you adjust, and you build momentum. Momentum is powerful. It doesn't come from planning. It comes from execution. When you act consistently, you create a rhythm. That rhythm becomes a habit, and that a habit becomes a lifestyle, and soon success isn't something you chase. It's something you live. But it starts by refusing to stay in the place of good intentions. A strong decision is your start, but repetition, discipline, and grit, that's what keeps you going. This is where most people give up, not at the start, but after the first few setbacks. They made the decision, but when things got hard, they started to doubt. That's why you can't rely on how you feel. Feelings fluctuate. Some days you'll feel powerful. Other days you'll feel tired, discouraged, even defeated. But successful people understand you don't have to feel like it to do it. You just have to do it. Action first. Emotion second. Motivation will come, but it comes to those already moving. Action creates results, but it also creates belief. When you act on your decision repeatedly, you begin to trust yourself. You believe that you can follow through, that you can handle difficulty, that you are capable. That belief changes your identity. You stop being someone who hopes, and you become someone who produces. Confidence grows, not from imagining success, but from working toward it and seeing progress, even if it's small. Every day is an opportunity to reinforce your decision through action. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is persistence. You don't need to do everything at once. You need to do something every day. 5 minutes of focused effort, 1 hour of learning, 1 step forward. These small daily actions compound. They build the future. They take your decision from an idea in your mind to a reality in your life. And when you hit obstacles, and you go back to your decision. You don't question it every time things get hard. You already made the choice. Now act like it. That's how winners think. They don't keep starting over. They stay the course. They adjust their strategies, but never their commitment. They made the decision once, and they live by it every day through focused, deliberate effort. You don't need more inspiration. You don't need more motivation. You need to honor the decision you already made. You said you wanted to change. You said you were ready. Then act like it. Let your behavior match your commitment. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Let your results prove your effort. Success isn't magic. It's not a mystery. It's not a matter of luck or talent. It's a matter of showing up again and again without waiting for the right mood or the perfect time. Decide, act, repeat. That's the formula. And if you stick to it long enough, the life you once imagined will become the life you actually live. Because it's not enough to decide once. It's what you do after that decision every single day that builds the outcome you want. Environment must serve you, not control you. This is one of the most overlooked principles in personal growth and goal achievement. People often assume that success is about willpower, that if they just try hard enough, they can rise above anything. And while willpower is important, it's not the whole story. In truth, the environment you live in, work in, think in, day after day shapes your habits, your mindset, and ultimately your outcomes more than you realize. That's why you must take control of your environment. You must design it to support your vision, not distract from it. Look around at your daily surroundings. Are they helping you grow or keeping you stuck? Your physical space, your digital space, your social circle, these are not neutral. They are either pulling you toward your goal or pushing you away from it. The food in your kitchen, the apps on your phone, the voices you listen to, the people you spend time with, all of it matters. If your environment is filled with distractions, temptations, negativity, or chaos, it becomes harder to stay consistent. Not impossible, but unnecessarily difficult. And the harder it is to stay focused, the more likely you are to quit. Too many people are waiting for motivation in environments designed for distraction. They want to focus, but they keep their phone within reach, with every app open. They want to lose weight, but their kitchen is stocked with junk food. They want to read more, but they sleep with the TV on. They want peace, but they surround themselves with noise. The truth is, your environment will always win over your intentions if the two are in conflict. That's why you must align your space with your goals. Make it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. You can't rely on willpower forever. Willpower is a limited resource. It gets weaker with stress, fatigue, and time. But when your environment is built to support your discipline, you don't have to fight so hard. The path becomes smoother. The resistance decreases. You make progress not because you're constantly forcing yourself, but because your surroundings make the right choices natural. That's smart living. That's strategic success. Start by removing friction from your good habits and adding friction to your bad ones. Want to exercise in the morning? Lay out your clothes the night before. Want to read more? Put your book on your pillow instead of your phone. Want to eat healthier? Don't bring home what you don't want to eat. Make your environment do half the work for you. Because if you don't shape your environment, it will shape you. And if you let it shape you without intention, it will usually lead you away from growth, not toward it. This applies to people too. You become like those you consistently surround yourself with. If your conversations are filled with complaining, gossip, or excuses, don't be surprised if your energy and ambition drop. But if you spend time with people who challenge you, who uplift you, who live with discipline and purpose, you begin to absorb that. You rise to meet the standard around you. That's not weakness. That's human nature. And it's a tool you can use if you're aware of it. Your environment includes your mental inputs as well. What you watch, listen to, these are all shaping your thinking. If you feed your mind with negativity, drama, or shallow entertainment, your thoughts will reflect that. But if you fill your mind with learning, wisdom, and challenge, your mind sharpens, it grows. It starts working for you instead of against you. So be intentional with your input. Don't just consume what's easy. Choose what builds you. Taking control of your environment is not a one-time event. It's a process. You'll have to evaluate, adjust, and refine. Sometimes that means cleaning up your space. Sometimes it means setting boundaries with people. Sometimes it means creating routines and systems that reduce the number of decisions you have to make each day. Every step you take toward a more supportive environment is a step toward a more consistent version of yourself. Remember, no matter how big your goals are, you live them out in the smallest details of daily life, and those details are shaped by your environment. So don't wait for perfect conditions. Create them. Don't hope the world makes it easy for you. Design your own world. Build habits into your space. Remove distractions. Surround yourself with the energy and structure that keeps you focused. Success isn't just about being strong, it's about being smart. And one of the smartest things you can do is to build an environment that lifts you higher even when you're tired, even when your motivation is low. Because discipline is easier when the world around you is helping you stay aligned. That's the power of environment, and it should never be left to chance. Discomfort is the price of progress. Every meaningful transformation, every significant achievement, every breakthrough in life comes wrapped in discomfort. It's the unavoidable cost of growth, yet most people spend their lives trying to avoid discomfort. They want change, but they don't want challenge. They want success, but they want it to feel easy. And that's where they fall short, not because they aren't capable, but because they refuse to be uncomfortable long enough to see results. Growth lives outside of comfort. It doesn't live in routine, in predictability, in repetition of what you already know. It lives in challenge, in struggle, in stretching your limits. Think about it. When you're working out and your muscles burn, that's discomfort. But it's also the signal that you're getting stronger. When you study something difficult and your brain feels tired, that's discomfort. But it's also the proof that your mind is expanding. When you have a hard conversation, face a fear, or take a risk, you feel exposed, uncertain. That's discomfort. But that's also the path to maturity, clarity, and confidence. You can't escape discomfort if you want to grow. But you can learn to work with it. You can learn to recognize it, not as a sign that something is wrong, but as a sign that you're moving in the right direction. Too many people interpret discomfort as failure. They think, if this feels hard, maybe I'm not meant to do it. But the opposite is true. If it's hard, it probably means it's worth doing. If it stretches you, it probably means you're on the edge of something new. Discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the doorway. The mind tries to protect you from discomfort by pulling you back toward comfort. It whispers excuses. It magnifies fear. It creates hesitation. But those are not reasons to stop. They are signals to push forward. Discomfort tests your commitment. Anyone can be disciplined when it's easy. The test is what you do when things get hard. Do you lower your standards? Do you quit? Or do you push through, knowing that every step through discomfort is a step closer to your goal? You don't need to eliminate discomfort. You need to raise your tolerance for it. And the good news is, discomfort tolerance is a skill. Like a muscle, it can be trained. The more you expose yourself to challenges, the more you choose the hard thing instead of the easy way out, the stronger you become. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes manageable. What once scared you becomes familiar. And what once held you back becomes part of your strength. The key is to start small. You don't need to climb a mountain on day one, but you do need to take a step that makes you uncomfortable. Wake up earlier than usual. Say no to something that drains you. Do the workout. Have the conversation. Take the action you've been avoiding. These moments feel small, but they are shaping you. They are building resilience, grit, and a new level of self-respect, because deep down, you know when you're avoiding discomfort, and you know when you've faced it, and that builds trust with yourself. Every person you admire, every success story you've heard, every champion you've studied, none of them got where they are by staying comfortable. They embraced discomfort. They trained themselves to endure it, even welcome it. Not because they loved the pain, but because they loved the progress. They understood that temporary discomfort leads to lasting results, and so must you. Discomfort also brings clarity. When you step out of your comfort zone, you learn what you're made of. You find out who you are under pressure. You identify your weaknesses, but also your strengths. You become honest with yourself. And that honesty allows for real change. Comfort might feel good in the short term, but it often hides the truth. Discomfort reveals it. And once you see it, you can do something about it. If you're serious about your goals, you must stop treating discomfort like a warning and start treating it like a teacher. It's not there to hurt you. It's there to grow you. It's there to strip away excuses, strengthen your character, and sharpen your focus. And if you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, there is almost nothing you cannot achieve. So embrace the hard days. Embrace the tired mornings. Embrace the awkward conversations, the unfamiliar challenges, the mental resistance. These are the building blocks of greatness. Discomfort is not a punishment. It's a process. And those who can endure it are the ones who rise, not because they had it easy, but because they chose the hard road and they walked it with discipline. Let discomfort shape you. Let it strengthen you, and let it prove to you just how far you can go. Success is not an accident, it is a system. It does not happen by chance, nor does it rely on inspiration alone. The people who achieve the highest levels of success in any area of life, business, health, relationships, skill, do not wake up each morning hoping they'll feel like it. They build systems. Systems remove the need for constant decision-making. Systems provide structure. They create a process that runs regardless of how you feel, because feelings are unreliable, but systems are consistent. When you build a system, you take control of your future. You no longer rely on bursts of motivation to get things done. Instead, you rely on a clear, repeatable process, a daily routine, a time block, a checklist, a set of rules that you follow no matter what. That's what winners do. They don't wait to feel ready. They create conditions in which success becomes a byproduct of their habits. Think of it like this. If success is the harvest, the system is the daily watering, the soil care, the sunlight arrangement. You don't control the fruit, but you control the process that makes it grow. Too many people approach their goals emotionally. They say things like, I'll work on it when I feel inspired, or I'll get serious once things settle down. But life rarely settles down, and inspiration rarely shows up when you need it. If you're going to win, you need to act whether you feel like it or not. That's where systems save you. They reduce your reliance on unpredictable forces and allow you to focus on action. A good system helps you make progress even on the days you feel tired, overwhelmed, or distracted. Think of the top performers in any field: athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, professionals. They don't just work hard, they work smart. They have rituals, routines, schedules, and protocols. Their excellence is not an accident, it's engineered. They've set up systems that make the right action automatic and the wrong action difficult. That's what you must do if you want to succeed in a sustainable way. Willpower fades, systems endure. Let's take fitness as an example. The person who decides to get fit may start with great energy, but if they have no plan, they'll eventually burn out. Compare that to someone who builds a system. They work out at the same time every day. They prep their meals on Sunday. They follow a training program and they track their progress. One person relies on will. The other relies on a system. Guess who's still consistent 6 months later? Systems aren't complicated. They're intentional. They're built to serve your priorities. They help remove friction from your day and eliminate decision fatigue. You don't waste energy deciding whether or what to do. You just do what's already been decided. Over time, your system becomes your rhythm, and rhythm is what creates momentum. You don't need a perfect system to begin. You just need a functional one, something simple, clear, and repeatable. If your goal is to write, make it a rule to write for 30 minutes every morning. If your goal is to build a business, block time every day for focused work, calls, and planning. Don't rely on memory or mood. Use calendars, alarms, templates, anything that removes guesswork. Clarity and consistency are the core of a good system. And when your system starts working, protect it. Life will always try to interfere. Distractions will pull at your focus. People will demand your time. Unexpected events will test your priorities. But your job is to return to your system again And again, discipline means honoring your structure, even when circumstances tempt you to abandon it. Systems give you stability in the middle of chaos. They allow you to be productive, creative, and consistent even when everything around you is shifting. Of course, systems evolve. What works today may need adjustment tomorrow. And that's okay. The goal is not rigidity, it's reliability. Review your systems regularly, refine them, optimize them, remove what's not working, strengthen what is, but never go back to relying on motivation alone. That's a recipe for inconsistency. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is a life that doesn't need to be micromanaged by your emotions. When you have systems, you don't need to fight yourself every day. You don't need to argue with your own laziness, procrastination, or self-doubt. The system takes care of the action, and action builds results. Remember, a successful life is not built in intense bursts. It is built in steady daily disciplines. It is built in routines, habits, and repeatable behaviors that align with your vision. The life you want will not arrive all at once, but it will arrive if you build the systems that carry you there one step at a time.